I stood in our living room, clutching my acceptance letter from the art program. My hands trembled as I faced Mom, hoping she'd finally understand my passion. But Catherine's face twisted into something between disgust and disappointment. "Art?" she spat, tossing the letter onto the coffee table like trash. "You're throwing your life away, Helena." My stomach dropped. I'd expected resistance, but the venom in her voice cut deeper than I'd prepared for. "Mom, this is what I love. I've always—" "Your cousin Amanda is studying to be a doctor," she interrupted, arms crossed tight. "Your brother's in engineering. And you want to paint." I felt my throat tighten. Around us, family photos lined the walls, Amanda in her white coat, my brother holding his engineering award. Not a single piece of my artwork was displayed anywhere. "I'm good at it," I whispered, hating how small my voice sounded. Mom laughed bitterly. "Being good at something doesn't make it a career. You'll end up broke, living in some rundown apartment, selling paintings to tourists for $20. Is that the life you want?" I swallowed hard, fighting back tears. "It's my life." Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "Then you're wasting it." College started 3 weeks later, and I moved into the dorms with mixed emotions. My roommate, Nina, was a photography major who understood my passion immediately. She plastered our walls with her prints while I unpacked my brushes and canvases. "Your mom's still giving you grief?" Nina asked one night as I sketched in my notebook. I nodded without looking up. "She calls every other day asking when I'm going to come to my senses and switch majors." "That's really tough." It was tough. Every conversation with Catherine ended the same way, her listing practical careers I should consider, me defending my choice, and both of us hanging up frustrated. Dad stayed neutral, which somehow felt worse than Mom's open disapproval. But in class, everything changed. Professor Martinez saw something in my work that made me feel legitimate for the first time. She paused at my easel, studying my brushstrokes, nodding thoughtfully. "You have real instinct, Helena," she told me after one session. "Don't lose that." I clung to those words during late-night painting sessions when doubt crept in. When Catherine's voice echoed in my head, calling this a waste, I'd remember Professor Martinez's encouragement. Still, the fear never fully disappeared. I wondered if I was fooling myself, chasing an impossible dream. 6 months into my program, I submitted my portfolio to a downtown gallery. It was small, nothing prestigious, but getting my work on those walls would mean everything. I checked my email obsessively for 3 weeks, my stomach churning with anticipation and dread. The rejection came on a Tuesday morning. "Dear Ms. Helena Burke, thank you for your submission. Unfortunately, your work doesn't align with our current commercial vision. We wish you success in your future endeavors." I read it 5 times, each word feeling like a physical blow. Commercial vision. They wanted something safe, something that would sell to tourists and interior decorators. My work was too raw, too personal, too me. I called Catherine without thinking. "I told you," she said flatly when I explained what happened. "Art isn't reliable, Helena. It's not too late to transfer into business. Your aunt works in marketing and—" I hung up mid-sentence, my hands shaking with anger and humiliation. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was deluding myself, thinking I could make this work. Maybe I should give up now before I wasted more time and money on this impossible dream. That night, I stared at my paintings lined against the dorm room wall. They told stories, my stories. Didn't that matter? Didn't that count for something? I didn't quit, though everything in me wanted to. Instead, I threw myself deeper into my work, painting until my fingers cramped and my eyes burned from exhaustion. I experimented with watercolors, acrylics, oils, anything to find my authentic voice. Nina worked shifts at a campus coffee shop and got me hired. I'd serve lattes from 6 to noon, then paint until midnight. Sleep became optional, a luxury I couldn't afford. My grades stayed strong, but exhaustion was my constant companion. "You look terrible," Nina said one morning, shoving a breakfast sandwich at me. "Thanks," I muttered, but I knew she was right. Dark circles shadowed my eyes, and I'd lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. Still, my portfolio grew steadily. I documented every piece, photographed them from multiple angles, and researched smaller galleries that might appreciate my style. I submitted to 3 more places over the next month, hope flickering weakly in my chest. 2 rejections. One silence. Catherine's calls became less frequent, which hurt in a different way. It felt like she'd given up on me entirely, written me off as her failed daughter. During family video calls, she'd barely look at me, focusing instead on my brother's latest promotion. But I kept painting. What else could I do? Spring semester brought an unexpected opportunity. Professor Martinez pulled me aside after class, her eyes bright with genuine excitement. "There's a local gallery hosting emerging artists next month," she said, handing me a glossy flyer. "I want you to submit." My heart leaped painfully. "Really? You think I'm ready? Your work has matured significantly, Helena. You're absolutely ready for this." The gallery was small, tucked between a bookstore and a cafe in the arts district. Not prestigious, but real. I submitted 3 paintings, a series exploring isolation in crowded spaces. Each canvas showed figures surrounded by others yet fundamentally alone, capturing the loneliness I'd felt my entire life. 2 weeks later, I got the acceptance email. I wanted desperately to call Catherine to share this tiny victory, but I stopped myself. She'd minimize it, call it a nice hobby show, or something equally dismissive. Instead, I told Nina, who screamed so loud our neighbors complained. The exhibition would run for 2 weeks. I'd have wall space, a small plaque with my name, and a chance for people to actually see my work outside of classroom critiques. It wasn't much, but it felt like everything. It felt like validation that I wasn't completely crazy for pursuing this dream. Catherine came to the exhibition on the final day. I hadn't invited her. Dad must have told her about it. She walked in wearing her church clothes, looking around the small gallery with barely concealed disappointment etched on her face. "This is it?" she asked, gesturing dismissively at the intimate space. My chest tightened painfully. "Yeah, Mom. This is it." She approached my paintings with her arms crossed defensively, studying them like she was searching for flaws to point out. I watched her face desperately for any sign of pride, of understanding, but found only criticism forming behind her eyes. "They're very dark," she finally said. "Depressing, even. Why would you paint such sad things?" "They're emotional," I corrected quietly. "They're about human connection and loneliness. They're not marketable." She turned to face me directly. "Helena, who's going to buy paintings that make them feel sad? People want art that brightens their homes, not this heavy, depressing stuff." Each word landed like a stone in my chest. Around us, other artists chatted happily with visitors, celebrating their work. I felt exposed, stupid for hoping she might finally understand or support me. "Some people connected with them," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Catherine sighed heavily. "I'm sure they did, but connection doesn't pay bills, Helena." She left 10 minutes later. The summer after my junior year, everything shifted dramatically. I was working a catering gig at an upscale fundraiser when a distinguished older man approached the bar where I was pouring wine with shaking hands. "You're Helena Burke," he said. It wasn't a question but a statement of fact. I blinked, genuinely surprised. "Yes. I saw your work at the gallery last spring. The Isolation series." He extended his hand confidently. "Harrison Blackwell. I collect art." My heart hammered violently. Harrison Blackwell was a name I knew, a wealthy collector who'd launched several artists' careers through his patronage and connections. "I'd like to see more of your work," he continued smoothly. "I'm hosting a private showing next month. Invitation only. Would you be interested in participating?" I nearly dropped the wine bottle I was holding. "Absolutely. Yes. Thank you." He handed me an elegant business card with embossed lettering. "Send me your updated portfolio. I think you have something special, Helena. Something rare." After he walked away, I stood frozen behind the bar, his card clutched in my trembling hand. Nina found me like that 20 minutes later, still staring at the card in disbelief. "What happened to you?" she asked, concerned. "I think my life just changed," I whispered, barely able to process what had just happened. Harrison's invitation arrived via email, a solo exhibition at his private gallery. My own show, my own space, my own moment to prove myself. The gallery was in an upscale neighborhood where I'd never even window shopped before. I wanted to tell Catherine, but I hesitated. She'd find a way to diminish this, to call it luck rather than recognizing my talent. So I kept quiet, pouring everything into preparation instead. The gallery space was stunning. White walls, perfect lighting, hardwood floors that gleamed. Harrison gave me complete creative control, which was both thrilling and absolutely terrifying. I selected 15 pieces carefully, arranged them to tell a story about finding yourself when the world tells you you're wrong. Opening night drew a sophisticated crowd. Art critics, collectors, gallery owners, people who mattered in this world. I wore a simple black dress Nina helped me pick out, trying desperately to look like I belonged there. Harrison introduced me warmly, calling my work refreshingly honest in an age of pretense. People actually listened intently. They studied my paintings with serious expressions, discussing technique and meaning in hushed, reverent tones. But no one bought anything that night. As the crowd thinned, disappointment settled heavily over me. Exposure was valuable, Harrison assured me gently. These things took time. Still, I'd hoped for more than just exposure. 3 days after the exhibition closed, Harrison called unexpectedly. "Helena, I have news. One of your paintings sold." My breath caught sharply in my throat. "Which one?" "The centerpiece." Echoes in silence. A private collector offered $40,000. I nearly dropped the phone. $40,000. For my painting. My work, created in that cramped dorm room during sleepless nights when I questioned everything about my choices and abilities. "Helena, are you still there?" "I'm here. I managed weekly. I can't believe it." After we discussed contracts and details, I sat on my apartment floor, staring at nothing. This was real. Someone valued my art enough to pay $40,000 for it. This wasn't a fluke or charity, this was genuine appreciation. I called Catherine without thinking it through. "That's wonderful, honey," she said, but her tone was flat and unconvincing. "Though you got lucky. The right person at the right time, that's all." "Mom, this is a major sale for an emerging artist." "I'm just saying, don't expect this to happen regularly. One sale doesn't make a career, Helena." I hung up feeling hollow despite the incredible victory. Why couldn't she just be genuinely happy for me once? My reputation grew steadily over the next year. Harrison connected me with other galleries, and I started getting invitations to group exhibitions across the state. One painting sold here, another there, nothing massive, but enough to prove I wasn't just a one-time fluke. Then Harrison called about a charity auction, a prestigious annual event where established artists donated work alongside emerging talents. He wanted to submit one of my pieces to be auctioned. "This is exposure to serious collectors," he explained enthusiastically. "People with real money and real influence in the art world." I agreed immediately, selecting a painting I had created during my darkest moment of self-doubt. It showed a figure climbing stairs that led nowhere, but the colors were vibrant, almost hopeful despite the futility. I called it Ascending Anyway. The auction was black tie elegant. I felt like an imposter in my borrowed gown, surrounded by women dripping in diamonds and designer labels. But when my painting came up, bidding started at $5,000 and climbed rapidly, numbers flashing on the screen. $15,000. $20,000. $25,000. It finally sold for $38,000. My family heard about it through my brother, who'd seen coverage online. At Sunday dinner, Catherine acknowledged it briefly without real enthusiasm. "That's nice, Helena. Very lucky." Then she immediately changed the subject to Amanda's new position at the hospital, dismissing my achievement entirely. I graduated with honors and moved into a small studio apartment that doubled as my workspace. Catherine visited once, making no effort to hide her disdain at the paint-splattered floors and canvases covering every available surface. She picked up a price sheet I'd left on the counter, my current rates for commissions and available pieces. $8,000 for this one? She pointed at a medium-sized canvas with obvious disbelief. "Helena, that's absurd. Who would pay that much for a painting?" "People do, Mom. I sold 3 pieces last month at exactly those prices." "You're getting greedy," she said sharply, setting down the paper. "Art shouldn't cost this much. You're taking advantage of people who don't know better." I felt my temper rise dangerously. These paintings take weeks to complete. The materials alone cost hundreds of dollars, plus years of training and developing my skills. "It's still just painting," she interrupted dismissively. "Not like you're saving lives or building bridges or doing something truly important." After she left, I stood in my studio surrounded by my work that galleries wanted, that collectors purchased, that critics praised. But in Catherine's eyes, I was still wasting my life on something meaningless. That night, I painted through tears, channeling frustration into brushstrokes. The result was raw and powerful, possibly one of my best pieces yet. Harrison called 6 months later with an opportunity that made my hands shake uncontrollably. "Helena, I have a contact at Preston Gallery in New York. They want to meet you. Potentially for a solo exhibition. Preston Gallery, one of the most respected contemporary art spaces in the entire country. Artists dreamed of showing there their entire careers." "When?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "Next month. I'll arrange everything for you." The meeting went better than I dared hope. Victoria Preston, the gallery director, loved my work genuinely. She saw the emotional depth, the technical skill, the unique perspective I brought. She offered me a solo show for the following spring. Walking out of that building, I felt like I was floating above the sidewalk. This was it, the breakthrough I'd worked toward for years of struggle and doubt. I called Catherine from a coffee shop, unable to contain my excitement. "That's great, honey," she said distractedly. I heard a television in the background. "But don't get your hopes too high. New York is a tough market. Very competitive. Mom, Preston Gallery is a huge deal in the art world." "I know, Helena. I'm just saying, stay realistic about your expectations. Anyway, I have to go. Amanda's coming for dinner tonight." The line went dead. I sat there holding my phone, surrounded by the chaos of the city, feeling utterly alone despite this incredible achievement. My New York exhibition opened on a rainy April evening. Critics came, collectors came, art bloggers came. The gallery was packed with people who understood and genuinely appreciated what I'd created over years of dedication. The reviews were phenomenal beyond my wildest dreams. The Times called my work emotionally resonant and technically masterful. Artforum featured me in their emerging artist spotlight. Suddenly, my name meant something in the art world. 5 paintings sold opening night, 2 more by the end of the week. Gallery owners from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Miami contacted Victoria about representing me in their cities. I was invited onto a national morning show to discuss my journey from rejected student to rising art world figure. The host asked about my inspiration, my process, my dreams for the future. "I just paint truth," I said simply. Human truth. The messy, complicated reality of being alive and feeling things deeply. The segment went viral on social media. My accounts exploded with messages from aspiring artists thanking me for proving it was possible to succeed. Catherine didn't watch the show. When I asked her about it later, she said, "I'm sure it was nice, Helena. I've just been busy with other things." The dismissal hurt worse than her earlier criticism. She couldn't even pretend to care about my success. 3 months after the exhibition closed, Victoria called with news that literally stopped my heart. "Helena, we have an offer. A major collector wants to purchase Silent Revolutions. That's the centerpiece, your large triptych." "Okay," I said slowly, trying to stay calm. "How much are they offering?" There was a long pause. $3.2 million. The world tilted violently. I sat down hard on my studio floor, phone pressed to my ear, unable to process what I just heard. "Helena, did you hear me? Are you all right?" $3 million. I whispered in disbelief. 3.2. It's one of the highest prices ever paid for a living emerging artist's work. Congratulations, Helena. After the call ended, I sat in stunned silence for what felt like hours. $3 million. For something I'd created with my hands, my heart, my stubborn refusal to give up despite everyone's doubts. I called Catherine. This time, she had to understand what this meant. "That's wonderful, Helena," she said, but I heard the shock underneath her words. That's a lot of money. A tremendous amount. It's not about the money, Mom. It's about someone valuing my work that much. It's validation that I wasn't wasting my life after all. Silence stretched between us uncomfortably. Finally, she said quietly, "I suppose I was wrong about some things. Maybe more than some things." The sale made headlines across art publications. Features ran about the young artist whose work commanded millions. My social media went from 3,000 followers to over 100,000 overnight. Suddenly, Everyone wanted to interview me, feature me, discuss my meteoric rise. I did podcasts, magazine profiles, gallery talks. My face appeared in art news, Vogue, even The New Yorker. Catherine saw the articles everywhere. Family members sent them to her, tagged her in social media posts celebrating my success. She couldn't avoid it anymore. Her daughter, the one supposedly wasting her life on art, was becoming famous for exactly that. At a family gathering, I overheard Aunt Patricia congratulating Catherine enthusiastically. "You must be so proud of Helena. $3 million. And all that press coverage." Catherine's response was stiff and uncomfortable. "Yes, she's done very well for herself. You always knew she was talented, didn't you?" I waited, wanting desperately to hear how Catherine would answer this loaded question. I worried about her stability," Catherine admitted reluctantly. "Art seemed so risky, so uncertain." Later, Catherine approached me in the kitchen. We stood there awkwardly, years of tension and hurt between us like a physical barrier. "I saw the article in The New Yorker," she said finally. "It was very impressive, very thorough." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak without emotion overwhelming me. A prestigious international art prize nominated me 2 months later, the kind of recognition that cemented entire careers. When I won, the ceremony was broadcast globally. My acceptance speech thanked everyone who believed in me, pointedly excluding Catherine. She noticed the omission immediately. "You didn't mention me," she said when I visited home after the ceremony, her voice hurt. "You didn't believe in me," I replied simply, keeping my voice level. Her face crumpled slightly. "Helena, I was your mother. I worried about your future, about you struggling financially, about you getting hurt by rejection. That's what parents do. They worry about their children. You did more than worry, Mom. You told me repeatedly I was wasting my life. You dismissed every achievement. You made me feel worthless and stupid for pursuing my passion. I never meant." "But you did," I interrupted gently but firmly. "You made me doubt myself constantly. Even when I started succeeding, you couldn't be happy for me. You called it luck, not talent or hard work." We stood in her kitchen, the same kitchen where she'd thrown my acceptance letter on the table years ago. Everything looked the same physically, but we both changed fundamentally. "I'm sorry," she whispered finally, tears forming. "I was wrong. I didn't understand, and I hurt you deeply. I'm so sorry, Helena." The apology cracked something inside me. I wasn't ready to forgive completely, but it was a start toward healing. The weeks following Catherine's apology were strange and uncomfortable. We talked more carefully now, navigating a relationship we damaged badly over years of conflict. She asked about my work with genuine interest, though I could tell she still didn't fully understand the art world. Part of me wanted to embrace her newfound support enthusiastically. But another part, the part that remembered years of dismissal and hurt, held back, afraid she'd revert to criticism if my success wavered even slightly. I confided in my therapist, who I'd started seeing after the major sale. "Do you want a relationship with your mother?" she asked directly. "I don't know," I admitted honestly. I wanted her approval for so long. Now that I'm successful, she wants to be supportive, but it feels conditional. Like she only values me because I'm worth millions now. What would feel authentic to you? I thought carefully about it. I want her to understand that my worth isn't tied to money or fame. That even when I was struggling, selling nothing, I was still valuable. My art was still valid and meaningful. Have you told her that directly? I hadn't, but maybe I needed to have that conversation. That night, I drafted a letter to Catherine, trying to explain everything I felt. I didn't send it immediately, but writing it helped clarify my own complicated thoughts and feelings. Catherine called me on a Tuesday afternoon, her voice uncharacteristically tentative and uncertain. "Helena, could we meet for coffee? I'd really like to talk with you." We met at a cafe near her house. She looked older somehow, tired and worn. We ordered drinks and sat by the window, watching rain streak the glass in rivulets. "I've been thinking about what you said," she began carefully, "about how I made you feel worthless. And you were right. I absolutely did that." I waited silently, letting her continue. "I was scared, Helena. When you chose art, I saw you heading toward a life of struggle and disappointment. I wanted better for you, stability, security, certainty. I thought I was protecting you by pushing you toward practical careers. But you weren't protecting me, I said quietly. You were protecting yourself from the anxiety of watching me take risks. She nodded slowly, tears beginning to fall. You're absolutely right. I was terrified you'd fail, and I couldn't handle that fear. So I tried to control your choices instead of trusting you and your vision. I needed you to believe in me, I said, my voice cracking with emotion. Even when it was hard, even when success wasn't guaranteed. I needed my mom to see my passion and support it unconditionally. Tears welled in her eyes. I know. I'm so sorry, Helena. I'm sorry for every dismissive comment, every doubt I planted, every moment I made you feel small and inadequate. You deserved so much better from me. Preston Gallery invited me to exhibit at an international art fair in Paris, the pinnacle of contemporary art world events. My work would hang alongside legendary artists, viewed by collectors and critics from across the entire globe. This is career-defining, Victoria told me seriously. Your presence here establishes you as a serious, lasting figure in contemporary art, not just a flash in the pan. I spent months preparing carefully, creating new pieces specifically for this exhibition. Each painting pushed my technical abilities further, exploring themes of transformation and resilience. As the fair approached, I wrestled with whether to invite my family. Catherine had apologized. We were rebuilding trust slowly, but Paris felt sacred. My moment, untainted by our complicated history. Finally, I called her. I'm exhibiting in Paris next month. Would you want to come? Silence. Then, softly, I'd love to, Helena. If you really want me there. I do, I said, surprised by how much I genuinely meant it. The Paris Fair exceeded every expectation I'd had. My exhibition drew massive crowds. Critics praised my evolution as an artist. 3 paintings sold for over $1 million each. Catherine stood quietly in the gallery, tears streaming down her face as she watched strangers celebrate my work enthusiastically. Afterward, she hugged me tightly. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. I always should have been. From the very beginning. The Paris exhibition marked a turning point in our relationship. My family attended my next gallery opening, all of them, dressed up, genuinely interested. They asked questions about my process, admired my technique, celebrated my success sincerely. Catherine stood beside me as collectors examined my work, beaming with unmistakable pride. When someone asked about my journey, she said, Helena always had extraordinary talent. I'm grateful she pursued it despite my doubts and negativity. It was honest. It was humble. It was healing for both of us. After the exhibition, we had dinner together. My parents, my brother, Amanda. Conversation flowed easily, everyone sharing their lives without competition or judgment or comparison. Remember when I threw your acceptance letter on the table? Catherine asked quietly. I remember. If I could take back one moment in my life, it would be that one. You deserve my support from the very beginning, Helena. We can't change the past, I said gently. But we can change now. We can build something better. She squeezed my hand tightly. Thank you for giving me another chance. I don't deserve it. Looking around the table at my family, imperfect, flawed, but trying, I felt something shift fundamentally. Forgiveness didn't erase the hurt, but it made space for something new to grow between us. We met for dinner regularly after that, just Catherine and me, rebuilding our relationship slowly and carefully. She asked about my childhood art projects, pieces she dismissed or thrown away without thinking. I could see the regret clearly in her eyes. I wish I'd kept everything, she said during one dinner. Every drawing, every painting. I'd frame them all now and display them proudly. I have photos, I offered gently, of the early work. I documented everything, even when no one else cared. Her voice broke. I should have cared. I'm your mother. I should have been your first supporter, not your biggest critic and obstacle. You're supporting me now, I said. That matters. It's not too late. We talked about her fears, her own abandoned dreams. She'd wanted to be a musician once, but was pushed toward accounting by her parents. She'd done to me what had been done to her, perpetuating a cycle. I broke that cycle eventually, I said. And maybe that's the point. We learn from the pain and do better for the next generation. You're wiser than I was at your age, she said. Wiser than I am now, honestly. I learned resilience from you, I admitted. Even if you didn't mean to teach it. Your doubt made me stronger ultimately. I had to believe in myself when no one else would. She smiled sadly. I wish you hadn't needed that lesson so desperately. The Contemporary Art Foundation awarded me their Innovation Prize, recognition as one of the generation's most influential emerging artists. The ceremony was elegant and overwhelming, attended by art world royalty. When my name was called, I walked to the stage with my heart pounding violently. The presenter recounted my journey, the rejections, the struggles, the breakthrough, the unprecedented success for someone my age. Helena Burke paints human truth, she said. Her work reminds us why art matters, because it helps us understand ourselves and each other. She is not just talented, she is essential to contemporary art. The applause was thunderous. I gave a brief speech thanking my mentors, my collectors, and the artists who'd inspired me. Then I paused, looking out at the audience until I found Catherine. I also want to thank my mother, I said clearly. Our relationship wasn't easy, but she taught me that the only opinion that truly matters is my own. She challenged me to prove myself, and in doing so, I discovered my own unshakable belief in my work. Thank you, Mom, for the hard lessons and the late apology. Both mattered equally. Later, she found me at the reception, mascara smudged from crying. That was generous, she said. It was honest, I replied simply. A major global auction house contacted me about featuring one of my paintings in their contemporary art sale, an event broadcast internationally with collectors bidding from around the world. The piece they wanted was Becoming, a massive canvas I'd completed after winning the Innovation Prize. The auction was prestigious beyond anything I'd experienced. My work would be presented alongside established masters, commanding serious attention and serious money. The night of the auction, my family gathered at my studio to watch the live stream together. My painting appeared on screen, dramatically lit, while the auctioneer described its significance. Bidding opened at $500,000 and climbed rapidly. 1 million, 2 million, 3. We watched in stunned silence as the numbers rose steadily. 4 million, 5. Finally, the hammer fell at $6.8 million, setting a record for a living artist under 35. My brother whooped loudly. Amanda screamed. Catherine sat quietly, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry I ever doubted you, she whispered. I know, I said, hugging her tightly. I know you are. The auction house asked Catherine to give a statement about my journey. On camera, she spoke candidly about her initial doubts and eventual understanding. I was wrong about art being a waste of time, she said. My daughter proved that following your passion, truly committing to it, can change everything. I'm humbled by her resilience. Success brought responsibility I hadn't anticipated. Young artists contacted me constantly, seeking advice, mentorship, hope. Their messages broke my heart. So many talented people doubting themselves because others doubted them first. I decided to create the Ascending Anyway Foundation, named after my charity auction piece. The foundation would provide grants to emerging artists facing financial hardship, covering supplies, studio space, and exhibition costs. I want to support artists when they're struggling, I explained to the board I assembled. Not after they've already made it, but when they most need someone to believe in them. We funded 30 artists the first year. Watching them create without the crushing weight of financial anxiety was indescribable. This felt more meaningful than any sale, any award, any recognition I'd received. Catherine volunteered to help with administration. She reviewed grant applications with genuine care, particularly moved by applicants whose families didn't support their dreams. I see you in every one of these applications, she admitted. The passion, the determination, the fear. I want to give them what I should have given you, belief and support. Working alongside her, I realized she'd truly changed. She understood now what she'd missed before, and she was trying to make amends through action. My final exhibition of the year was deeply personal, a retrospective showing my evolution from uncertain student to established artist. I included everything: early works that galleries had rejected, pieces from my breakthrough period, and recent explorations pushing into new territory. The centerpiece was a large canvas titled Wasting Time. It showed a figure painting in a small room while shadowy voices crowded the doorway. But the figure was illuminated, focused, creating despite the doubt. My entire family came to the opening. They moved through the exhibition, studying each piece, seeing my journey laid bare on the walls. Catherine lingered before, wasting time, reading the description that quoted her words back at her. When she turned to me, her eyes were red. "This is beautiful," she said. "Heartbreaking and beautiful." "It's honest," I replied. "It's more than that. It's proof that you were right and I was wrong. You weren't wasting time. You were building something extraordinary." Later, as I stood surrounded by my paintings, my family, and collectors who valued my vision, I felt complete. Not because I'd proven Catherine wrong, but because I'd proven myself right. I'd taken the words meant to diminish me, wasting your life, and transformed them into fuel. Every doubt became determination. Every dismissal became drive. My art wasn't a waste of time. It was the best use of time I could imagine. It was truth, beauty, connection, and resilience all woven together on canvas. And now, finally, everyone could see it, especially the person whose belief I'd craved most. Catherine stood beside me, proud and present, no longer my critic but my supporter. It had taken years, millions of dollars, and international recognition for her to understand what I'd known all along. But she understood now, and that was the greatest victory of all.